We saw it on the table and in the car in one of the possible orientations. Obviously I'm trying, this is just sitting here. We're trying the steering wheel location, position, and the instrument position. And hold this kind of at eye level. There's not much you can do about the leftward skew of the column in these little cars, unless I've thought about doing a tilt column whereby you install it off center, as I showed in the Cooper S, and that allows you to tilt it at an angle. You can correct for weirdness like this. But you know, when you get used to it, it's really not that big a deal. Just making the instruments where we can see them here. So I don't really know how this is going to turn out. I'm trying different things. Again, even up here, not a bad view with the instruments, really, even through this small 13-inch steering wheel. I don't want to hide the wiring harness and everything else and make it impossible to access once the instruments are in place. I'm hoping to make this a modular thing that I can easily disassemble to get to things, like instruments on the back, wherever this ends up. It can also be a glove box, and the separation won't be too abnormal there, and will be easier to make and easier to keep them separate for access. We'll see. Why do we bother? I don't know. And over here, okay, it's a Grant steering wheel, but it's the top of the line mahogany, I think. This was actually in the 911, and it's just so far away in that car, and it's got such big wheels and manual steering that it's a little too small and really doesn't fit the 911. I also don't want to use any kind of a hub that brings it further into your face. I don't really like that feel of your elbows bent up to your chin. So what I did essentially, I'll show this little plate. This is just an aluminum plate located at the top that I made to fit on one of these standard little, I guess it might even be something they sold back with the Grant. I had made this plate to accept a Momo wheel. You can see the 6-bolt pattern there. But having this really nice mahogany wheel, I'm going to add the 5-hole pattern that the Grant wheels use, drilling 4 more holes, and we'll see how it all goes together. That's why we're fitting the gauges here from our viewpoint. Well, the AutoMeter gauges, I managed to find a hole saw that cut them just a little too small, and then I used a half-round file. Same here. These ones here, I cut these freehand, and I've been going around kind of fitting them, seeing which way they wobble. If I do this well, I won't have to really do much to hold these in, except fit them into the wood panel from the front. I might begin to do the electrical, and then when I get to the point of the fuel gauge, we'll see. I'm thinking volts and fuel will go here. The steering wheel kind of covers these, and then there's a little bit of space, and then I'll have 2 more here, maybe a 3rd one, depending on how this all looks. That's how it goes together. Well, might as well show it when a lot of work's been done already. It's can be delicate work. Can only get away with about a 20% duty cycle. I let it cool to where I can comfortably grab it. Let's see if we can show the last bit of this one. Perfectly timed, not to get too hot. We don't want to burn our dash here as we're... Hey, look, I just stuck the gauges in their holes, which I all custom made onto the piece of redwood fencing. All right, so work in progress still, but we can see the layout of the dash with most of the gauges it's going to have, and then some. I ended up putting in the temporarily the original fuel gauge here just to kind of see what it's going to take to make the AutoMeter unit work. It doesn't have the right sending unit either, so not the end of the world. Let's take a look at today's project though, kind of while we're doing the... yes, the wiring's been installed. It's been running and driving. The lights work. I don't have turn signals yet. I just found a flasher on the table over there, so that might explain it. But this nice looking DCOE Weber. This is an old Italian 40 that works okay, except it's developed a small leak. I suspect from the bottom on the underside is the accelerator pump goodies, and I notice when you come to a stop you hear a little bit of a drop of fuel landing on the header when you shut it off, so that tells me it's probably leaking while you're driving, although it probably blows away by then. But anyway, been meaning to do this for a while. These 1 3/4 SUs getting very, very difficult to find, but they just work so well. I mean, this sputters and the choke, and you're fiddling around with the throttle, and yeah, I know it could be jetted a little better, but these things are so bulletproof and just work in all conditions, and it makes a bit more power than a smaller 40 that we've been running here, and probably gets better mileage if we stop the fuel leak. So a number of things. It's also fun just to kind of try different things. I had a 45 on here, if you remember when we test ran it the first few times driving it. Just too much with a very, very standard engine. This is a standard bore 1275, same engine. So other things going on. Yes, the dash isn't quite finished yet. My radiator, I got to put an overflow tank over here that is going to raise the level of the fluid and make it a little bit better. Although, gosh, even in hot weather with this just switch controlled, thermostatic switch controlled electric fan, no shrouding or anything, it's working fantastic. But let's concentrate on the project here. I've got this thing, it's 3 cables. There's a throttle, there's a choke, there's a fuel line. They've been released. A few nuts on the manifold there. Let's pull that off and see what it takes here to swap us over.
Hardly take the Metallica, putting her to sleep with a phone in her mouth, just absolutely knocking her out. Look at this. Quit bugging me, turn off that light. Just calm, gentle music, putting me to sleep. Quit waking me up.